Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 302, Symbolic Mythology. This is a very good work, intermediate in length, 156 pages. Again, a nice easy edit, which I appreciated. Link in the description, by the way, to my edition of this work on Amazon, fully reformatted. I'll get into, this work was a little bit weird as far as its format, and I'll talk about how I improved it. Or tried to. Second and third links are to my books blogs. I haven't actually made the blog post for the other work either, so I've got a double header today. This work is very, very good, but it was very, very challenging in one sense to reformat it because it was written in stream of consciousness, and there are two other times that I've encountered works like this. From the end of the 19th to the beginning of the 20th centuries, sometimes you got these intermediate length digest sort of works that had a huge amount of folklore, religious history, mythology. They had various subjects, and the author, Woolsey, of this work actually made an entire work on the folklore of rings, and I'm 99% sure I've edited it, actually. And he and others would write in stream of consciousness. That is, instead of having like a coherent section for a fully literate academic audience, you had little bits, little notes that were meant to be digested easily by people and memorized, and it was considered entertainment. See, they didn't have the internet at the time. They didn't really have commercial radio. They didn't have television or anything like that. People dwelt in books and parlor games and things like that. So when they got together, they would talk for hours and hours and usually use various intoxicating substances, alcohol, ether at the time, and they would talk about, you know, random little tidbits of things that they had learned. They were fascinated by it. It was considered to be good, especially among the upper middle class. The aristocracy in the Victorian era was completely popular. This particular work is basically, therefore, a digest of an enormous amount of lore compressed into as little space as possible. The problem with that is that sometimes the sentences, therefore, were not entirely coherent. There was a little bit of disjointing going on. I've compressed it. It was initially quite longer. I've compressed it the best that I could. Now, it dwells on symbolism. A lot of it deals with animals. So you have dogs, you have Cerberus and so forth. Horses, you have Sleipnir and Greyfell and some of these other legendary horses. You have lions, eagles, ravens. All of these main archetypes that were used within human civilization have their own sections here. A couple of the chapters, by the way, it wasn't entirely clear a couple of times where the chapter ended. The formatting had, again, some issues. But it goes into a huge amount of mythology, and at the time, there were three big mythologies at the time that were of interest to people in the English-speaking Western world. The sort of Nordic mythology, Thor and so forth. Mythology that related to Hinduism, because of course India had been colonized and a huge amount of folklore was coming out of there with the Vedas and so forth, and Westerners were trying to categorize and create hierarchies within their Eastern system, and then basically any Anglo-Saxon mythology, all the way up through Arthurian legend, everything like that. All of those are included here. It is essentially an omnibus of mythology. It is very well written. It's just that I needed to completely reformat the work in order to make it, I think, better for a modern audience. So again, I've compressed it as I can. I was interested in mythology related to dogs, because I'm interested in, like, there was a legend, the Black Dog legend, which is various cultures in origin. As a kid, it actually terrified me. The idea of, you know, a spectral dog that would chase you around a graveyard or something. And I got almost obsessed with it when I was a kid. And so it has a whole chapter, actually, on the folklore of dogs, as far as symbolic mythology goes, and I found that the most interesting. But there's a little bit of everything. There's also a section on rings, which is a subjugate section that was expanded upon, I think, later for Woolsey's other work, specifically on the subject of the folklore of rings. Very good work overall. It's just, again, the format you're seeing is considerably different because it's now the current year. It's no longer the Victorian era. Some things had to be mildly improved. So again, link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. It is intermediate in length. It's not quite as long as some of the full-length works. It's 156 in its new format. That is largely due to my compression of the sections from a sentence or half a sentence, pushing them together as needed into actual paragraphs to make it more of a coherent, flowing work. I wish Woolsey had hired an actual editor and gone through his notes at the time. Would have been easier. Would have saved me a couple of days of editing. And second and third links are to my books blogs, where you can find other similar mythological materials. That's about all. Peace out.